JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created, James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com, code PODCAST. That's JamesAllen.com, code PODCAST.
If you're in the market for investment-worthy bags, watches, and fine jewelry, Rebag is the answer. Rebag is a luxury resale marketplace where each piece is carefully vetted and verified by experts to ensure quality and authenticity. If you're in the market, use Rebag to buy and sell finds from the world's top brands, including Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier. Head to Rebag.com to get 10% off your first purchase with code REBAG10. Shop today at Rebag.com. That's REBAG.com. And use promo code REBAG10 for 10% off your first purchase.
Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, GoPowerCat.com's Kansas State Athletics Show. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, from the GPC studios, here's your host, GoPowerCat publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the PowerCat Questions Podcast, your podcast in which the VIPs at GoPowerCat.com over at Wabash Station, our message board, get to ask the questions and everyone gets to listen to our answers. I am Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat. And on board today, of course, are Zach Carlson and Ryan Gilbert. No Cole Carmody today, but he'll be back sometime after he's coached a lot of baseball. We're sponsored by The Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Make sure you stop into The Fridge every time you are in Manhattan. Always great deals, great prices, great service, amazing service. And go check out their app. You can order on the app, wheel up and have it brought out and load it up into your car. Thank you, pandemic, for that. One good thing to come out of the pandemic, at least. And on we go with the show. I guess Gills is going to read today. He doesn't read really well. That's okay. We put it in big type and use a really fun type. Comic Sans. He loves Comic Sans. It tickles his brain.
It's Helvetica.
Helvetica is a poor man's Comic Sans. The budget's been slashed to Go PowerCat. Gills, read.
First question comes from Jerome Yang. Did the Batcats deserve a tourney bid?
Oh, we're going right into it.
Right into it.
Zach ain't messing around today.
No, they didn't.
Do you want to go first?
I mean, we all agree.
Yeah, we do. No.
No,
and I feel bad. I do. I feel badly for the kids because they played their ass off. But you head into the season knowing damn well that the RPI is an overemphasized parameter for selection. That it might be wrong. It may not be the best way to do it, but it's the way they're doing it. And you scheduled teams that lower your RPI, and on top of that, you lost to some of them. A lot of them, actually, as you go back and look through the season. Yeah, K-State got better. Yeah, they swept Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma got in the field. I get that stings, but the committee, based on the RPI, decided that Oklahoma was better against the field than K-State, because they're not going to play head-to-head unless they run into each other on down the line, and then clearly they both deserve to be in. The RPI was an enormous factor in the construction of the field last year, and it was going to be that way this year. And yet here we are. You didn't play the game right, basically.
it's like applying for a job you have no business applying for. Like you didn't have any of the skills. You didn't have the right amount of experience.
Underqualified.
You were underqualified to compete against the other candidates. And they were better than you, unfortunately.
Overall.
You lost 4 out of your last 6 games in the regular season against true tournament teams. You can't. The committee can't just look at that and say, "Oh, well, they might be better against the field." You played the field. Sure, you won 3 games in the Big 12 tournament. That's great, but you still lost to TCU how many times in a row? I think it was 4 times in a row. Mm-hmm. K-State is a good Friday team, not necessarily a good weekend team.
And obviously a bad midweek team because they lost. Some of these bad losses were just out there in the middle of the week.
Would it have been cool for K-State to make the NCAA tournament? Yes. Would they have won more than maybe the first elimination game? Probably not. I'm sorry. But that's just the reality. But sure, you schedule a series against UC Irvine. That's great. But they were a bubble team too. You schedule one game apiece in a tournament against Iowa and LSU. Those need to be 3-game series, either midweek or in the early season before conference play starts. You knew the rules. You knew how to schedule it. You know what teams are going to be in the top 50. It's not rocket science. Oh, the distance. You are a college baseball team. There is no excuse to not go play baseball against good teams wherever you are in the country. It is literally not hard.
Yeah, I agree.
Omaha's RPI is 266. Air Force 136. St. Thomas 293. You cannot lose these games. So I agree. I wish Cole was here to argue with us, but I'm with you guys.
I feel bad for the kids. They didn't make the schedule. They did play their hearts out down the stretch, got themselves in a position to be on the bubble, but they never had that definitive moment in which they got off the bubble and into the field. As Zach said, you won 2 Friday nights in a row, correct? And then lost the Saturday-Sunday games in the last 2 series of the season. Sorry, I've been around these RPI things a lot. I remember when Jim Woldridge would say, well, I think we can get in the field, and I look at his schedule based on what you're going to have to win.
You can go
double-digit Big 12 games.
You can go more recent than that with Bruce Weber.
Yeah.
And his non-conference scheduling schemes. It was bad. I mean, that's exactly what you're looking at with baseball. If you want to play with the best, play the best. It's as simple as that.
The measurement here is the coaches are trying to do 2 different things. They're trying to get their team into the field naturally, but they're also trying to collect wins so they get to stay head coach. And I think these 2 things were in opposition this year. Ironically, I don't think it mattered who they played in some of these games. They were going to lose. They should have just gone ahead and played better competition. But this is the point they're at. I feel horrible for the players. They're better than Oklahoma. You weren't going to play Oklahoma in the tournament. That wasn't what the question was. The question was, how are you against the field? And the season showed that the committee clearly thought schools such as Oklahoma and Arizona were better against the field than Kansas State.
Next question from Denland0809. True or false, the 2023-24 starters for both basketball and football are already on the rosters?
Football, true.
Yes. I think. Yes. I don't think they're going to find anyone else at this point.
Basketball.
No.
I'll say there's one starter that's not on the team.
Could be 1 or 2.
Yeah. I think if they want to be really good, there's 2. They still need to go find 2 pieces. And that's not a shot against anyone on the team. It's just they need more. Maybe they're just 2 high-quality players. Maybe they're a player like Desi Sills, who isn't technically in the starting lineup until a rising star of an assistant coach made the suggestion. Yeah. And, Desi wasn't considered really a starter over the course of the season, but if you could find another player at that level, you'd be in better shape.
One of his assistants.
Do you remember the name of that coach? I just forget.
Guy in Rilbert?
That sounds good, yeah. Well, one of his assistants was in his ear about keeping him on the bench so he could be like the 6th man of the year in the league. I don't know who that would have been. Guy in Lilbert would have been better than that.
Yeah.
Than that guy.
Apparently he was still eligible for that award and didn't get it, which that I might be more upset about than baseball.
Well, Tyler Perry probably be a starter. Cam Carter probably a starter. Tomlin's for sure a starter. And then Manning or Colbert, one of those post players. So it's, the more I think about it, probably just 1 unless they get that X factor dude that can come in and make it 2. But I would say 1.
I tend to
start
think
David.
Yeah. Maybe it is 0. Yeah, that's a good
No, it's
question.
not. I mean, that, again, if that's your starting lineup, you haven't helped yourself
Right.
enough through the
Right.
portal. I think if this team really wants to achieve what it's possible, Cam Carter assumes a Desi Sills role, and someone else comes in that's, more of a frontline scorer, distributor, and they really do want that. Uday. I mean, he's the perfect guy for that spot. The guy that can run and block shots and be an offensive threat, but also a defensive presence, more so than what David Gasson can, just because of his build.
Yeah, if K-State lands Uday, he's going to jump Colbert or Manning, I would assume.
Well, I think Manning's more of a 3-4 type guy now.
Sure.
So.
Next question from Big Sam. What is the likelihood of neither Texas nor Oklahoma making the conference championship game in football this year?
If Texas doesn't, it'll sum up their entire post-Vince Young existence, right? That if they can't get into the championship in a year in which some people around the country think they'll be in the national championship, not the Big 12 championship, the national championship, because, they're back. If they can't do that, it'll just sum up everything about Texas. All hat, no cattle, quite literally. I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma, I don't think Oklahoma's going to be good. I think they'll be good enough to go to a bowl game just like last year, but I don't see this scheme working. You can't add that many guys to a football program and expect a cohesive locker room. If they pull that off, that's amazing. But I think Tech's good. I think K-State's good. I think TCU's good. There's some really quality competition. The only thing going for Oklahoma, and I don't mean this as a shot, I literally mean this, is they don't play K-State. That's their kryptonite. Mostly in Norman, and the game would have been here in Manhattan, but still, they got a burden off of their schedule. And essentially on K-State's schedule, you swapped out Oklahoma for Houston, and we'll take that.
Yeah. I think the likelihood of neither making it, less than 50%. I think there's a good chance that you're playing one of those two teams.
I would agree with that. That's a much more concise answer to this question than what I just babbled through.
I get the feeling that it's going to be like 2010 all over again, but Texas is Nebraska since they're leaving.
I think it'll be remarkable if they don't make it again. What would be even more remarkable if yet two different teams made the championship game? It was Texas Tech and, I'm just throwing this out, UCF.
Baylor.
Yeah. No, not Baylor. Because, look, over the last 3 games, we had Oklahoma and Iowa State, Baylor and Oklahoma State, Kansas State and TCU. If Tech and someone else make the championship, I think we can assess it won't be Kansas or Iowa State. We're running out of schools here pretty quickly.
Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's going to have to be a newcomer. It'll say an awful lot about the conference. But I think you're right. I think the championship game will be Texas and Kansas State.
I think that's pretty fair.
Do you say?
I do not think K-State gets there. Sorry.
To navigate the Big 12 is unlike any other conference. I'm looking through, because I just did a daily delivery on the SEC. I'm looking through their schedules. And I totally recognize, anyone from K-State that does not recognize that Alabama and Georgia are a different cut than other programs after what happened in the postseason is a little bit nutty. But you look down through the SEC, and K-State's won a lot of games against those programs. They're very comparable to the Big 12. I looked at Missouri's schedule for 2024 for that DD. They have 4 incredibly winnable non-conference games. I can't explain why they're going to UMass in the non-conference. It's just weird. But their Power 5 non-conference game is against Boston College, which is great scheduling if you have 9 conference games. But they also have Vanderbilt on their schedule. They have 5 wins built in. Mighty SEC, look, they went 7-5.
I feel like by that point, counting Vanderbilt as a win may not be enough. I feel like Mizzou and Vanderbilt are doing this kind of collision course. I'm making a graph where one's going down and one's going up for those watching at home. Listening at home.
I hope they're not watching.
They're always watching.
I'm not wearing pants.
But go back to last year. In 2022, Baylor was the preseason favorite. That didn't work out. Oklahoma was number 2. That didn't work out either. So the expectations that we have for Texas, like, it's not always going to be as you think it is. And especially with Texas, they're always going to be an overrated team. And so it's up for grabs, obviously. I think Oklahoma, even though it doesn't look like they have a real chance right now, anything can happen. And obviously just a few plays here and there in a game or two can really change the season. So I think at least Texas or OU, one of those teams will get in, to go back to the question.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. They're quality programs. I think they'll fare okay in the SEC. They're going to miss the Big 12 because they won't get all the calls that they typically have gotten, and Texas won't run the show. But
I only think one team will do well. I think one team will
rise and the other one will fall.
Stink and regret everything they did.
Okay. I think I know where you're going with that.
I don't get it.
I don't know where you think I'm going.
Oklahoma's going to regret it.
Oh.
I think Texas has the budget, can attract the players.
I don't think OU will regret it in gymnastics. I will say that.
No, they won't. You are proud of that Oklahoma gymnastics team. They are really incredible in some of their other sports. Softball is the UCLA dynasty of women's softball. I mean, they are like 3 of the 4 longest winning streaks in college softball history are OU winning streaks. Yeah. Just set the record again. It's incredible.
But if one of these two teams loses 2 games by the time we're done with October, like they're going to be checked out. Like, okay, we're going to the SEC next year. Let's just get through this season, go through the motions. So I agree, Zach. One of those 2 teams easily can just tank it for the rest of the season if they struggle early.
You got to get that number 1 SEC draft pick, right?
Last question of the first half is from Power Cat Ryan. Do you think a big money donor would make a bigger impact donating $1 million towards assistant coaches or to an NIL? Just give it to Fitz.
Yeah, that's good. You'll feel better about yourself.
You're supporting a local business.
Yes. The problem with this question is, how do you measure this success? If you get the right player or 2 through the NIL and you win the Big 12 and play for the national championship, maybe that measurement outweighs anything long-lasting, keeping together a strong coaching staff. But at the end of the day, $1 million spread among your 10 coaches one time isn't going to really propel you that much. It needs to be $10 million put in
every 2 or 3 years
to a fund, and then someone else puts in $10 million. And honestly, that is the limitations of Kansas State. Incredible fans, some very wealthy donors that are very, very generous. But that pool, compared to other peer institutions, probably smaller. Just is. No medical or law school. A lot of the people that have risen up and donate back are kind of self-made. They didn't rely on their fancy degree to do it. They went out as engineers or got a business degree and built incredible companies, either their own or as CEOs. So $1 million just doesn't move the needle much in either area unless you go buy the right player in the right sport at the right time and it all clicks. So maybe the answer is NIL. I was headed towards coaches, but maybe it is NIL.
It's NIL, especially now that NIL's settled down from the ridiculous fees from last year of, millions of dollars going to guys that didn't understand what their contract was, and then they back out because they realized they weren't going to get as much money. I think $1 million goes a lot longer this year and in the future than it would have, the last couple of years. So I think you could get a couple good players for, a 4-year career on $1 million versus if you donated $1 million, you might keep a staff together for 1 year. Mm-hmm. And that's it's a drop in the bucket for coaches versus, you can actually make a splash and improve the team if that's what your end goal was with the NIL.
Agreed. Gilds, you just want them to come down and tip it at your place of employment?
The place that can't be named on this podcast?
Yeah. Here's $1 million bill. Where's your tip jar? Sir, there is no such thing as $1 million bill, but I have one. I want to give it to that tall, sexy bartender standing next to Ryan Gilbert.
Vladimir.
Miss Vlad. I miss him. We got any more going over there? Or are you going to just keep staring at me, making googly eyes?
Did I not mention that was the last question?
I don't think you did.
He did.
I did.
He did.
Damn it! God, I got to listen to Ryan Gilbert more. Oh, that's horrible. That's it for the first half of this wonderful podcast. Even if your host is asleep at the wheel, we're going to arrive somewhere after the second half. But you got to get through the break, and then we'll have the second. You know how it works.
GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat podcast continues after this short break.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
Welcome back to the PowerCat podcast. Now, let's return to the GPC studios.
Welcome back to the PowerCat Questions Podcast, the podcast in which we answer your questions from Wabash Station and everyone in the K-State world or any sports world. Heck, not even sports. Maybe you're not into sports. You just want to hear Ryan Gilbert. I understand. We all go through it. And we're sponsored by the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Stop into the Fridge every time you are in town. I am overdue to go see Kevin and the gang at the Fridge. Just drinking hasn't been on my bucket list lately. Not feeling it.
I'm aware of that. I haven't seen you at the bar in a while.
Every time I decide I want to go do something, my stomach or another thing related to my treatment says, maybe you should go nap. Maybe we should go home.
You can still nap at the bar.
They really frown upon that. Trust me, I know. I'm sorry. My eyes are just really heavy. Right there at the bar. Plus, you end up with like cocktail straws on your face. Let's take your questions from Wabash Station now after a long pause. Ryan Gilbert.
First question of the second half from Joe Katz. Who will win more Big 12 championships, Will Howard or Avery Johnson?
Is it bad that I just look at this like a math problem? Will Howard has already won one.
Exactly.
He's going to overlap his time with Avery Johnson. If he wins one with Avery Johnson on the team, that's one extra bonus one that he gets, and then Avery has to go out on his own to get one. I feel like it's Will.
Well,
just on the math.
Counting if K-State wins this year, Avery doesn't get that, does he?
Yeah, he's on the team.
But he's...
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think they mean as a starter.
You mean as a starter?
Yeah.
Still, Will has one in his pocket already. So.
Yeah, either way, I think it comes up to Will, because winning a Big 12 championship's hard. Maybe the way Avery's going to be coming in to be quarterback, potentially, he's got to beat out some really good quarterbacks. In the post-OU Texas era, it'll be a whole different game. I mean, there might be 12 schools for a year and then 16 schools, and I don't know how I'm supposed to project how many games he's going to get to win against teams I don't even know are on schedule or not. So I'll stick with Will because he's got one. And then let's hope the total's 5 at some point in this stretch, and then we can figure out how to allocate those. Well, that would be Avery if it was 5. Unless Will sticks around another year. He's got another year, technically. I don't see it happening, but I guess that could be the wild card in this answer, too.
He's got more time.
The odds of it being a tie, both of them each getting one as the starter, I think is probably the favorite.
Nobody likes the push, Gilbert.
It's not a push. It's a three-way money line.
Yeah. Is that what soccer does, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, but...
Well, you seem like gamble. You know. You got something to tell me?
No.
Are you secretly back there betting on the Premier League?
No. I would never bet on soccer. I only bet on poker.
Poker. You're pretty good at the NFL, too. Well, reasonably well.
Yeah. In the green.
Hey, they have three-way money lines in NFL.
Technically, they do.
You can.
Yeah.
There are ties in the NFL. It's like plus 8,000, but...
I'll think
you're just throwing darts and hoping.
Yeah. Pretty sure that'll be a bet I will make.
So does that affect the money lines just a little bit then?
I think it's maybe. It's a separate bet, though. I think they keep pools separate like that.
Huh.
I don't know.
Okay. T-Con Man 08 wants to know, is the Jerome Tang contract extension on the way this summer, or does K-State wait and see if his success can be repeated? Big extensions after only one good season gets schools in trouble, and Gene has not really done it before.
I think there will still be some kind of contract adjustment. But the interesting factor here is Jerome Tang isn't a guy to take the time to call his agent or accept a call from his agent saying, we gotta use this to get you more money. That just, I don't see that as Jerome Tang's motivation here at all. But I think there will be some kind of add-on or something going on here. But I am all on board on the anti-1-year new contract things. It does typically get programs into trouble. But it also gets them into trouble because they give them to someone who didn't really achieve that much. Oh, you won 6 games in football. Oh, you won 19 games in basketball. I'm going to give you a new contract. They did what they were supposed to do. But going to the Elite Eight in your first year kind of exceeds that, so I'm a little bit more forgiving if there's a new contract here. That's extraordinary achievement in the first year.
I'd rather see something like a bonus, like $25,000 for each conference win or something is the bonus. And that can escalate his contract up, and then that can be like the new salary going forward. Like, I think that it should still be a little bit incentive-based if you're going to redo a contract after 1 year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, okay, great. You did a good job. Here's a way you make an extra $1 million. Do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I understand that Gene Taylor hasn't really done this before, but there's nothing fluky about what Jerome Tang did. Everybody understands and believes that he is the future of K-State basketball. It's not like... K-State beat a 16 seed, somehow beat Kentucky, like a fluky Elite Eight run. This was legitimate. And so I understand that's not normal to extend him so soon, but you'd have to be drugged out like Fitz is going to be this afternoon to not think that Tang needs to get an extension.
Wow. He just put it out there with no context, didn't he? There's a reason, folks. There's a reason.
You should just make the podcast thumbnail your little helmet, your little mask you have to wear.
God. No, just to clarify, I'm starting a rather horrifying phase of my radiation because I'm claustrophobic and have to wear this. I mean, it looks like something from a Halloween costume mask that literally screws into the table, and being claustrophobic, Valium will be my friend. Lots of it. Or
I want some.
It's really, I don't understand how people get hooked on it. It just kind of makes you groggy. Maybe you take so much it turns into an upper. I'm not sure what, but it just, last time when they made the mask, my wife and I stopped at this awesome outdoor place, landscaping store in Topeka, and she finally realized, I need to get my husband out of here. He's like a drunken bear. I seemed okay until I got into open spaces without anything really to hold on to, and she thought I was going to fall down. But thank God my nephew's driving me today.
Do you have life alert? If you fall down, you can't get up?
That's always have my phone. I'll always have my phone.
You need a button, though.
You know what, though? In all seriousness, my mom now has an Apple Watch because of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's on her, and if anything happens, and she's in her 80s, with an Apple Watch. I love her. That's amazing.
I hope she doesn't fall when it's charging.
I gave her the Sugar Bowl charging thing that we got.
Ooh.
So she can charge her phone and her watch at night if it works.
Wow.
And now she has a Sugar Bowl thing on her nightstand. How classy.
A Sugar Bowl thing.
A Sugar Bowl.
I love how when we're talking in the context of someone that is older and talking about a sugar bowl, it just seems very elderly. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. You come to think of it. I don't know how we got here, but here we are.
It's my fault. I brought up your drugs.
Thank you. Me like drugs.
From Eric Schneid, if you could recruit a former basketball player in their prime to play football this season for K-State, who are you picking and what position are they playing? Same question if you could flip it with a former football player in their prime to play basketball.
Wow.
John Holcomb basketball?
Yeah, no doubt. And kid picked the wrong sport. I am intrigued about Keontae Johnson as a tight end. He's big and physical. You know, how tall is he? 6'5"? 6'4"? That's just the immediate thinking, though. I always thought Martavius Irving would be an incredible safety.
Really?
Really quick, compact, strong. Yeah.
Does he have the height?
Yeah, he was 6 foot, 6'1" as a safety. Yeah.
Okay.
Horrible feet. But not feet in like that can't move his feet, you know, like a scouting. It's just, he apparently had ugly feet. It's just, I like to bring it up a lot. I don't know why.
DJ Johnson would be another good one.
Yeah, DJ. I thought of DJ too.
And Big Gip as well. I think he worked out with like the Packers.
Actually, Big Gip's the right answer. You know.
Yeah.
And honestly, maybe not even as a tight end. I think Big Gip was so athletic if he'd really put on, because he fights his weight. So if he'd been in the sport where he wanted to carry weight, I think he might have been a left tackle at his athleticism. I think he could have gotten up to, with the football training, you know, as a goal, he would have gotten up to around 300 pounds and a lot of muscle, and he's just so athletic. I think he could have that could have been a spot.
Marquise Noel could be a Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah, I think Marquise, anything involving, you know, that he can use his quickness, which is amazing. I'd like to see Desi Sills as a receiver. That little sucker could run. Yeah, he'd get from end of the court to end of the court. But I don't know about football going to basketball. That's really hard. Will Howard, maybe. But, I mean, I don't know. Ben Sinnott could be an enforcer.
Can we make a hockey team out of all of K-State's athletes? Put Ben Sinnott and Brandon Mott.
We keep recruiting these guys from the upper Midwest that, I played hockey. I don't know why they talk that way.
Yeah.
But, and I'm like, okay, yeah. I just mentioned Ben on Sirius XM this morning that I can't imagine that guy on skates closing in on me. Like, why is it the ice melted right there? Oh, that's where Fitz peed. He just lost it. So, yeah, that's harder to translate football to basketball, I think. I mean, we saw it back in the day with Rashad Washington, a safety, filling in basketball when they were short on players. And he was a great athlete, but he wasn't a great basketball player.
I think Blake Lynch would make a very good power forward.
I think you're wrong, but he certainly is at the right height to be the point guard.
5'5".
I don't. Yeah,
and I still think that's a lie. I still think that was a stretch.
Yeah, I don't know.
Last question from El Camino Cat. Does UConn make sense as an all-sports addition to the Big 12? Is their profile much different than Arizona, basketball schools with limited football success? Do we need an Eastern school to balance out the conference?
This is the big question for me. What is the intent of Brett Yormark? Does he just want the best schools possible, geography be damned? Or is he beginning to think systematically here, what will this conference look like at 16, at 20, for football if we get there? And if the answer is we want to keep it to 4 out west, only add 3, I think UConn's definitely in play. Short of having the ACC available in the short term, which I don't think will happen. I think it'll come open long before their rights agreement ends in 34, but it won't be in the next year. I think it's going to take a while to fracture and lawsuits and all that. So I can see him taking 3 from the pack and then turning around and saying, okay, we're going to have a basketball play. UConn comes in. They make this conference more attractive, possibly to schools such as Villanova and other Big East programs if they have the entire basketball expansion. UConn they have plenty of growth potential because they're pretty near the bottom of football, even though they had a good season this year. They're in ESPN's backyard. They get you closer to New York. I see all the reasons why he's interested in UConn, and I still can't get my mind around UConn getting an invite. I still would probably prefer the growth potential of South Florida if you're going to go do that. But he apparently has permission to add UConn or San Diego State if they need to do that. The other upside of UConn is you can add them at a smaller share immediately. Yeah, you're going to come in at a half share for the next, through this contract. So we'll see. I think we're getting close, but again, I don't know where Brett Yormark's going. I don't know if he wants 6 out west. I think the most efficient thing to do is to have 4 out west, 4 in the old Big 12, 4 in the old Southwest, which is Texas, 4 eventually in the Southeast, and 4 eventually in the Northeast. But certainly in this period, maybe 4 just out east.
I mean, it all just comes down to how many teams you want to add.
Right.
And I think UConn makes sense. I think Arizona makes sense, but only in the context of once you know which way the conference is going.
Right.
Because if you go out west, that probably takes UConn off the table, at least for a little bit. Or if you go to UConn, you probably need to grow a little bit more to the east. But also you have the ACC and whatever they're going to do. Yep. I mean, there's so many open doors right now. And at least at the moment, it doesn't seem like the Big 12 and Brett Yormark want to be the catalyst of things. And maybe that changes with Colorado or, some school from the Pac-12 just saying enough is enough. We need a media deal, and the Big 12 has one. So, and maybe that's the first domino that falls. And maybe you get Colorado, Arizona State, whoever out there, forces some hands. But until that happens, I don't, any possibility makes sense, and you can argue for most anything for the Big 12 to add.
Here's what I want to caution people about. Brett Yormark isn't confined by the conventional wisdom of college sports. He sees things from a different angle, and he could be wrong on some of this. Maybe the basketball play that I've come to like is an idiotic idea, and maybe his thought that a Big 12 basketball-only contract can get in excess of $20 million a school, maybe that's all wrong, and it ends up being 6, 7, 8, which is whatever.
Still an improvement, right?
Yeah, well, it is, but, it's not where you thought it would be. But he looks at schools like UConn and doesn't see the past, he sees the future. He looks at San Diego State and UNLV and maybe a South Florida and sees the future, not what they are at the moment. Utah was a Mountain West program, a really good one, and now they're the best fit, in my opinion, for the Big 12 if their fans didn't hate the Big 12, make it so known that they'd want no part of the truck stop conference. Yeah, so, you look at these schools and you can't just say, well, this is what they are now. What will they be? And that's really where I think he's going to take the conference, and understanding that San Diego State maybe doesn't have great attendance now, but at some point, if they're in a major conference and they don't have NFL in their market anymore, which they don't, it's going to be a big deal. Now, I don't know how he calculates that. Maybe it's all in his head. But he's arriving at decisions that we don't fully understand, but getting there for good reasons. It's not emotion. It's not gut instinct. It's really studying and knowing how things evolve in the marketplace. I think he's done an incredible job. The Big 12 is stable. And you could make an argument that only the Big 12 and SEC are stable right now in this moment because of the Big 10 contract. Not that big a deal. ACC's a mess, and the Pac-12 is they're just kicking the can down the road until they can't kick it anymore. So Brett Yormark's done a great job for Big 12. I trust him to do something smart in this phase. I think there's going to be 3 phases to this. This one, the basketball one, and the ACC one. And if he gets what he wants, we're going to end up in the Big 20 with 20 football programs and maybe 22 or 24 basketball programs. A new world is coming. That's way too big, but it's what you need to do to survive in this moment.
Did I not say it again?
No, you said it. I just wanted to know if you had anything to say.
I would like to add that I agree.
That was a dynamite drop.
Way to go.
See, that's why I keep him around. He always agrees with me. That's it for this edition of the PowerCat Questions Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to this podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. Go check out the daily deliveries. Check out the other videos we have. Life of Fitz is getting ready to kick off for the summer of 2023. And unless our schedules get crossed, we have Chris Kleiman booked for episode 1.
Thank you for listening to the PowerCat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. PowerCat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowerCat.com.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
The drama.
They're having to be separated. They've both been shown the red card.
The entertainment.
And he scores!
The superstars.
Foden! Oh, yes! What a goal.
Welcome to the Planet Premier League podcast. I'm Mark Chapman, and every week, Cesc Fabregas, Nader Manua and myself talk all things Premier League.
They have this dynamism and this quality that they can play anywhere. They need to prove themselves in scoring more and more goals.
I think if they don't win the title this year, the season is a failure in the league.
Planet Premier League. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.